Is that on everything that I was muted?
Now I'm live. I just gave this whole great spiel and it turns out I was muted. Natalie, I was answering your question about, thanks, Mr. Sleep Concierge, the tech whiz over here. Hit the mute button, who had a question about sleep training their 16-month-old and they feel like it's too late. And I am just here to say that it is never, ever too late to sleep train and get better sleep. I this year even worked with a family with a 4-year-old in the States and we completely solved all of their sleep issues. The things I want you to know is that you need to have realistic expectations that they're a bigger baby, they're a toddler, they're seeking autonomy, they know that there's something, you're their most favorite person in the whole wide world, you are outside the door, maybe even in the room, it's incredibly engaging and social, and they have a bigger set of lungs, they can stand up, they can really tell you about how they're going to feel about making change, and those are all the beautiful things that make them a toddler. It's also the time of the 2-to-1 nap transition, somewhere between 15 and 18 months usually. So this is also part of a lot of the struggles for families with babies or toddlers this age. In fact, today in my DMs, I think I spoke to about 4 or 5 families with 15 to 16-month-old babies navigating tricky sleep. But I sleep train babies this age, and I'll call them babies, they're always our babies this age, all the time. In fact, even in my, I have a baby sleep membership called Snooze, and just last week on the live group coaching call, I was chatting to one of the mothers with a 16-month-old who is co-sleeping and feeding to sleep, and we just created a really sustainable plan. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, but you are definitely not alone. Brittany's asked, do you still have the $7 a week subscription? No. So this has evolved. So I used to have Snooze Social and now I have Snooze. And the reason why I created Snooze is that Snooze Social was just for ad hoc baby sleep questions. But what I found, I mean, I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, as originally as a pediatric nurse and now full-blown sleep consultant, is that families, you could buy a guide, you could watch content online, whether it be mine or someone else's, and then you are still left on your own to implement and execute. And baby sleep can feel really lonely. And so what I've created with Snooze is you actually get access to every age-based course. I have newborn up to the toddler toolkit. You get immediate access to all of that, plus the Q&A forum, which is similar to the original Snooze Social, which is moderated by me and another amazing sleep consultant, Beck, who's actually the co-host on my podcast. And we do live group coaching calls. So I wanted to add the resource plus the ongoing support. So that's why we've moved away from Snooze Social and are offering Snooze. And it is amazing. I was just online in there before to see the village mentality that is happening in there. It is just wonderful to see. So Beck and I are in there answering questions Monday to Friday, but it's like a grown-up snooze social. It's Snooze. Hopefully my sound is now working for everyone. If Instagram watchers and listeners, if you've got any questions, be sure to pop them in the question box there. Grace has asked, when do you know it's time to shift a sleep schedule, or do you just shift over with their age? I think if you're wanting to originally start on a schedule, maybe sleep has felt really messy, ad hoc, maybe you're coming out of a regression or sickness or travel and you think, where do I start? That's where I would say just pick one of my age-based schedules and just start there. So if your baby is 8 months, you start on the 8 months schedule. Thank you. But in terms of when you're looking to move, you don't have to change just because your baby turned 8 months or 9 months. I'm usually looking for a few other signs. There is definitely a part of me that thinks if it ain't broke, we don't need to fix it. But when we're coming up to nap transitions, such as the 3 to 2 nap drop, I will have telltale signs of what I'm looking for to know that a baby is in fact ready to make that nap drop. I like families to move definitely to a short, long with the transitional schedule by 14 months, somewhere between 12 and 14 months, so that we can have a smooth 2 to 1 nap schedule. I think the important thing to know about where I come from when I create schedules and I'm working with families is that 2 things. One is I'm helping families that are having a really tricky time with sleep and looking to get better sleep and have a plan and just take out all of the confusion and the exhaustion. So a schedule is a great starting point. Natalie, I'm glad the sound works now. Thank you for letting me know. I tell all of my families this, but I am so much better with baby sleep than I am with technology. But now I've lost my train of thought. The other thing I want you to know about scheduling and where I come from is that I'm also looking to future-proof for my families. Not every family has to be the sort of family that is wanting to know what's coming next, but I want it to make sense as to why we're making this schedule change now and where it's going to lead to, so that you have a smoother time. Otherwise, it can feel just a bit arbitrary for me on the other side of a screen or a group coaching call to say, well, you're going to pop your baby down at 9:30 and I'm going to get you to wake them at 10:15. I want the families that I work with to understand why, so that they feel prepared for the weeks, months, years to come. Because babies are just ever evolving. I don't need to tell you that. They like to keep us guessing. And so I like my families to just feel prepared for what might be around the corner and how to pivot. It's about feeling confident, and I think it's about feeling empowered. And scheduling can be a big aspect of that. Trisha has asked, any tips on managing the Christmas period in my sleep-trained bub? Tips or just reassurance that I won't be undoing all of our hard work during this time? Absolutely not. You won't. So the thing to know about a sleep-trained baby is that those skills that you have taught never disappear. Now, they can take a back seat with things like travel and sickness, starting childcare, and sometimes we do need to do a bit of a reset to entice them back out if different habits have needed to sneak in, particularly with things like sickness. But the skill set is never lost. And so you can take a great deal of confidence knowing that even if you did have to reset, you're not actually asking your baby to do anything that they don't already know how to do. Now, in terms of Christmas, we actually released a podcast episode last week about how basically giving you a pep talk on how to hold boundaries if you so desire around the Christmas period. That I absolutely appreciate, and this is from lived experience, that if I end up with an overtired baby, I'm the one up at 3 a.m. Managing that and resettling. And so if you need permission to leave early, to prioritize a nap, to run late, to say, sorry, we won't be able to make it this year, then absolutely back yourself, because you are the one that's going to need to manage it overnight and the next day and so on and so forth. In saying that, it is just a blip on the radar. So if everything goes out the window, if a nap gets cut short, if Christmas Eve goes later than expected, you write it out. Maybe you hear from your baby a little bit extra overnight. You remain consistent and it will all come out in the wash. That's a really long way of saying that it will be okay no matter what you end up doing. I usually find that if I've had to do something else, I've had to assist a baby or I've had to play around with their schedule and I know they're overtired, or if by day 3 or night 3 I'm still having issues, then I know that maybe a habit has started to form and I need to pull back and reset the expectations. Oh, Grace, you're welcome. No problem. He's about to turn 5 months and has been sleeping through the night since your schedule. I'm so glad. This is the beauty of a schedule. And I think, I even saw like a sassy comment saying, forget what people people being me, say on the internet, just follow your baby's lead. And that can work for some, absolutely. But isn't that what we've all been trying to do anyway? And we still end up with multiple overnight wakings and short naps and early rising. Before we even get to a sleep training technique, for me, the bulk of the work happens throughout the day, and a huge part of that is the schedule. Now, the schedule doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to structure in naps. I want to work to age appropriate wake windows. I want to get those great full feeds in, and I want you to nail your timings for solids if that's applicable, because what that does is set you up for success. And so come bedtime and overnight, so that if you do any sleep training in the room, out of the room, hands on, hands off, it's productive. And so I'm so glad to hear, Grace, that the scheduling has helped so well. And I think a lot of families, particularly when you're in the thick of it and there's so much conflicting information online, it can feel a bit snake oil salesman to say, if you get on a schedule, you might reduce your overnight wakings, but it's absolutely possible. It's not necessarily going to be the magic fix. There's definitely some work that probably needs to happen overnight, but there is so much power in a great day schedule to organically reduce your 10 wakings down to 5, and then you can feel confident in what is a feed and what is a resettle. And that's what I do. And if you're interested in scheduling, because I work with families so closely, I like to micromanage the timings while we work together, and then say, you can relax a little bit when I send you off into the world. All of my courses have month by month age breakdown schedules of nap timings, including where you will put your milk and the volumes, and where you will also put your solids, because I know how many decisions you've already had to make every single day. You don't need to think about that. I have done that for you. Bree has asked, when is a good age to sleep train? So this is a really good question. So let's just, for anyone who's unsure, sleep training is teaching your baby and supporting your baby in falling asleep independently. So they're making that transition from awake to asleep on their own. And so it means that we're removing sleep associations like being rocked all the way to sleep, fed to sleep, bounced to sleep, all the common sort of parent-led sleep associations that for a lot of families can become unsustainable. So sleep training is about removing those and teaching a baby how to do that on their own, and it is absolutely a teachable skill. I have sort of two answers. One is somewhere between 4 and 6 months is a great age to start. Even here in Melbourne, residential sleep school will take you from 4 months, and they will teach your baby to self-settle. The other thing is that you also need to be ready to sleep train. So part of my answer would be the right time to sleep train is when you're ready to see it through. It does take consistency as a parent. I always feel like we sort of owe our babies a degree of consistency because we're asking them to learn something new and do something new. So if you're hearing me say 4 to 6 months and you have a 5.5-month-old baby in your arms right now and think, oh, I'm not ready for that, that's okay. You do not have to do that. When you are ready, if and when you are ready, I should say, that is the perfect time to sleep train. Just like I was saying to Natalie earlier, that 16 months is no issue to sleep train. If that's the time where things start to feel unsustainable and you want to make change. The other thing that's worth saying about if it's the right time to, when's the right time to sleep train, before you even get there, you can do sort of what's called sleep shaping. So for me, I have 2 children and I've had 2 very different baby sleep experiences. One, my first baby slept 12 hours at 12 weeks. I barely heard her cry ever. She sucked her thumb. She self-settled essentially from the day I brought her home from hospital. Honestly, like cat-napped 3 days in her life. She's now 6. She's in bed as we speak, probably still sucking her thumb. She's an amazing sleeper. My second baby was much trickier. The whole situation was much, much trickier. But what I always did from the get-go was more sleep shaping, which means I created the perfect sleep environment. I tried my absolute best to work to age-appropriate wake windows. I always gave them an opportunity to go down awake to see if they could put themselves to sleep. And of course, I would rescue if need be, particularly when they were little. And even my tricky sleeper, he slept 12 hours at 15 weeks. He's also in bed asleep as we speak. So I've never really had to formally sleep train my own children because I essentially offered the opportunity from day one. Now, you don't have to. That might feel really overwhelming. Postpartum is so different for everyone. I also told myself, particularly with my second one, I was struggling, that all I had to do was get to 4 months. And he slept through the night and self-settled before that. But if you're looking for light at the end of the tunnel, then it's going to be at around, 4 months. Hang on, I've just hit an alert's just come up on the iPad. Hang on. I've lost TikTok somehow. Oh dear. I have absolutely no idea how to rejoin that. So while I wait for Mr. Sleep, my husband, to come and fix it, I'll just keep answering Instagram questions. So Mary, for travel day to Perth, 3 hours behind, I have to add the extra nap that day at 10 months old. Do I offer the extra breastfeed that day? I don't think you need to. Of course, if it's going to make it easier in terms of little ears and flying, absolutely, you have that up your sleeve. But the extra breastfeed doesn't have to come back in, because we're not going to 3 naps for a scheduling calorie reset. It's just going to be as your rescue plan for that travel day. Sorry, I can't see the question. It's not usually this chaotic. Hopefully that made sense, Mary, the answer to that question. Sorry, everyone, just give me a minute while we get the live stream back up. I'm going to just sip my spicy mug while we wait. Okay, we're back. All right, I think we're back in action. Yes, I know. Thank you. All right, I'll just wait for those questions to come through. I can assure you that inside my Snooze membership, the live coaching calls are much less chaotic. So we do those once a week inside Snooze. It's usually on a Friday, but if anyone's wanting to join this week, we're actually going to do one on Wednesday as a little Christmas Eve. I didn't want to miss answering everyone's question inside the membership on Wednesday. So if you're looking to join Snooze, that's the timing of our next live coaching call. Mary, at 10 months, you can use a 4-hour wake window. It's really dependent. Some babies still want 3.5, and others can handle 4, but you can definitely move to 4. Particularly knowing that your baby is such a great sleeper, so that if there's some signaling at bedtime, then you can feel confident in moving to a 4-hour wake window. And you don't even have to stretch it in 15-minute increments or something. You can just dive right in if that feels right for you, for sure. All right. Well, lots of new faces joining. Hi, everyone. We're doing a sip and snooze. We just had a little bit of a tech meltdown, but we are back in action. I have my spicy mug here. My children are asleep. And if you have baby sleep questions, pop them in the group chat, whether you're on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. Angela, can you help me? Yes, Angela, pop your question in the chat and I am more than happy to answer it. Gabby's asked, is it bad when a 6-month-old stays awake for 5 to 6 hours? Is it true that all babies are different? Absolutely, it's true that all babies are different. Personally, I have never worked with a baby that I have put them on a 5 to 6 hour wake window. I would say that it could well be that the reason why things on that day, let's say, haven't, and I'm just speculating here, if it hasn't gone pear-shaped, is because a lot of babies, when they hit overtiredness, they don't necessarily melt down. They get a second wind, and they can be so happy, so wide awake, couldn't possibly look tired or like they need a nap. The thing to know, though, about overtiredness, so if you were to continue to have these long wake windows for the average baby, is that overtiredness has a tendency to compound. And this is what I often see if a family has tried their best with a nap transition. So maybe they've gone from 3 to 2 naps, let's say it's 6 months old, and it looks like it's working really well, really well, really well. And then you end up with some overnight wakings, or then you end up with a 5 a.m. wake, and then that impacts the 2 naps because you end up needing to bring something early, and then they take a short nap, and then you try and stretch them to a reasonable second nap timing, and you end up getting a short second nap, and it just starts to spiral. And that is the compounding effect of overtiredness. And it's a really normal and common, I mean, even the babies of sleep consultant get overtired. It doesn't have to be something that we fear, but it's something I try and minimize because I work with families who are trying to improve sleep. And so what I would say is that at 6 months old, I would be having a baby definitely on 3 naps, and I'd be doing something like a 9:30 till 10:15, 12:45 till 2:15, 4:45 till 5:15, and then a 2-hour wake window into bed. So very different from a 5 to 6 hour wake window. It's a matter of breaking out of the overtired cycle. And this is not because you're doing anything wrong or your baby is doing anything wrong. It is essentially almost every family that I work one-on-one with there is a degree of overtiredness starting to compound. And so you need a bit of a circuit breaker to catch up on sleep debt, get to an age-appropriate bedtime, reset overnight, and then there's just this beautiful flow-on effect. And so if any of that is resonating, that's exactly what I help with, all of which as a starting point is in the 5 to 12-month sleep course, which you'll get immediate access to inside my Snooze membership. Plus you can then do a big old brain dump into the forum, and Beck and I, as your sleep consultants in your back pocket, will answer all of your questions in there. Let's have a look. 10-month-old was sleeping 7 till 5, then sleeping in with me for 4 weeks, back to waking at 1 a.m. and 5. This is one of those scenarios where I'd need to know more, because there's lots of contributing factors as to why a baby might be waking up overnight. It could just be that they know that something fun happens around at 5, and then they've woken between a sleep cycle at 1 a.m. and they're obviously not watching the clock. So when I wake, I know mum or dad, whoever it is, comes and gets me, and I hop into bed with them. And then it can just be a little bit of a slippery slope of 1 waking becomes 2 and 2 become 3. And then next minute you've got 5 wakings overnight. The other thing always to look at is that whenever I find a baby's waking in the early hours of the morning, but going back to sleep in bed with a parent, yes, habit, but it can also be that they are a little bit chilly. Um, and so just purely because it's the coldest time of the night, even if you've got heating or cooling or wherever you're living, and however the room is set up, systemically we're at our coldest in those early hours of the morning. And then when a baby or toddler comes in with us into bed, they get our body heat, they might get the addition of our doona. And so I would just be also wanting to make sure, Hayley, that baby is definitely warm enough. It's all about whether or not those wakings and coming into bed with you is sustainable. If it is, no notes. If it's not, then I would be having a look at what is the root cause of these potential wakings. And it's usually it's not necessarily one thing. It's not just a baby's ability or lack thereof to self-settle. Could it be scheduling? Could there be undertiredness or overtiredness that is contributing to this? Are there feeds creeping back into the mix at 10 months old? It's never just a matter of a sleep training technique. And I think that's what I'm really trying to I guess educate families about, is that sleep training is not just cry it out. Sleep training is, we have to look at it through this whole child lens, the whole day, the environment, the milk, the everything, before we even get to the actual self-settling. So hopefully, Hayley, that answered your question. But Hayley, if you want me to do a deeper dive on what might be going on, definitely hit the link in my bio and you can join my Snooze membership. You'll get 3 months. You can either do a 3-month package or for a whole year. And we're in there answering questions Monday to Friday. Our next live group coaching call is on Wednesday, on Christmas Eve in the morning. And even if you miss it or if you're not in that time zone, you can submit a question and we'll answer it and then watch it on the replay. Yes, you're back at work and tired. And I feel like that's often the hard part about being a mother that goes back to work, is that you still have to turn up. I mean, we still have to turn up and parent every day, but then we have the additional responsibility of turning up and working as well. And if the sleep deprivation doesn't stop, it can make it really tricky. So this is where I would say better sleep is absolutely possible, and it's more than appropriate to prioritize your sleep as well. Bree says, I struggle with routine because I've got an older daughter and each day is different. I completely understand. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I once had a 2-year-old and a newborn, and so on and so forth. The reality of the way that I work is I want families to have a degree of flexibility. Now, sometimes when we are actively making change, the flexibility aspect may be a little bit tricky. I might micromanage things a little bit closely, but let's say your baby's on a 3-nap schedule, nap 1 and nap 3. Go for it. It doesn't matter if they're short. We'll have a backup plan, depending on how short it is. That's the one to do in the carrier, in the car, in the pram. Nap 3 forevermore, if you just continue to do it on the go, is so appropriate. I never need a family to do nap 3 in the cot unless their baby is capable of it, which fantastic. So, and then I try and really focus the home time and the scheduling on nap 2. So in terms of having an older daughter, I would say, depending on how old your baby is, there is absolutely room to do naps on the go and have flexibility, because I know how much I needed to get out of the house as a mother as well, but also that you need that time with your older child. They need to get out of the house too. I don't know if your older child is napping. Otherwise, it can just feel like you pop one down, you're waiting for one to wake up, you pop the next one down, and everyone is nap trapped. I mean, there is a reason why my podcast is called Nap Trapped, is because it's just such a universal concept that as mothers, and I say mothers because that's primarily who I work with, that we all immediately understand. Hi, Sally. Thank you for doing live. Oh, no problem. Curious to know if you would recommend transitioning a 15-and-a-half-month-old to one nap in prep for full-time daycare so it's not a shock and then offer two on the weekends. I actually wouldn't. I would continue on your two naps because I would rather go into change and what is inevitably going to be a short nap at childcare. Some babies can smash out huge long naps, but it's never what my anticipation would be, or rather expectation would be. So I would actually prioritize going into big change and new scheduling well rested, and then they have a greater reserve for the change, and then modify on the weekends to go back onto the two naps if they're having the one nap at home. And it's the same if you were also planning a big trip. Let's say I was flying to London in 3 days' time. I wouldn't try and get on London time. I wouldn't try and mess around with naps or anything in the lead up. I would say, right, we're doubling down at home. I'm going to build up the sleep totals, get a lot of sleep in the tank before we have a big change. Other reason why I say that is that because let's say you transition now, but your baby isn't actually showing the signs that we're looking for in terms of the 2-to-1 nap drop, is that it may work well and then you get early rising, and then what was a 2.5 hour nap is all of a sudden 1 hour 15, and you're fighting for your life in the afternoon. And how do we get them? Bedtime's going to be in the early 6s, and then maybe it can just snowball a bit. And so I would rather avoid that for you, if that makes sense. So I would just stay on two naps. If he or she has to go on to one nap at childcare, so be it. And then at home, you continue with your two until the signs are there. Hopefully that answered your question. Monique, 12-month-old, 2 to 2.5 hours of day sleep with a 4-hour wake window before bed. Can't work out why wake ups are inconsistent the following day, ranging from 5:45 till 6:30 a.m. Not cold in room. There's a lot of potential contributing factors to early rising. I would say that on the transitional schedule, we're anticipating a wake somewhere between 6 and 7. Most of my families, that's going to sit somewhere between 6:20 and 6:40, and we delay uptime until 6:45, 7 a.m. so that we don't accidentally create early rising. And it's really nice to just wake up slow and hang out. If it sits more in the 5:45s, I would be wanting to do just a little bit of a review of timing of that first nap, which I'm imagining is probably at 10 for you. And what else could be happening? What happens at 5:45? And so, yeah, I just want to do a bit of a review to see what could be happening, because at 12 months old, not that you're suggesting this, Monique, but I wouldn't be moving to one nap at all. So yeah, basically I need to do a deeper dive. Monique, if you jump into Snooze, I'm in the Q&A forum tomorrow and I can figure out what's going on for you. No problem. Amy just started finishing up breastfeeding. No feeds anymore, but he's waking at night and will not go back to sleep without a comfort feed. Any suggestions on how to cut it without him freaking out? For he's 13 months, so he isn't hungry. It's just for comfort. It depends on if you've just started finishing up breastfeeding, maybe you just have one benchmark overnight. So let's say you say, okay, I'm not going to breastfeed before 2 a.m., for example, which means that you need to resettle. I need that across a cap. I already have my nap trapped caps, but I need a resettle cap. And then you just hold steady. The thing about making change is that your baby is not in on the plan at all. And so your job is to be unflappable and calm and loving and see it through, so that the next night when you turn up and resettle, and their little body clock is programmed, hang on, I don't eat earlier in the night, it happens somewhere later in the night. Either he'll sleep until 4, let's say, in which case that becomes your new benchmark. Okay, I'm not going to offer a comfort breastfeed before 4 a.m. and you resettle, and then it just slowly starts to nudge out. You don't have to rip the Band-Aid completely, but I would anchor in what time and then absolutely see it through with consistency in any waking prior to that. Does that make sense, Amy? It makes sense in my head, because it depends on also how many wake ups you've got. I also want to make sure that the day calories look like, is he having enough solids? I suspect he absolutely is. But when you first make change, you need to be able to see it through, but you don't have to be all or nothing. You could definitely anchor in what time you think is appropriate. Or even if you wanted to be more conservative, no comfort feed before midnight, resettle. Even if it's 11:40, you're going to resettle and then offer a comfort feed at the next one and nudge it out in that way. Okay, great. You're already doing that. I think so much of a big part of the work that I do is I want mothers your gut instincts are so on point. And I want to be able to give you the pep talk to say, you absolutely know what's happening, what you want to do, how to achieve your goals. And I am the sounding board to say, you've got this. You absolutely have got that. And here's how we can tweak it a little bit. I just lost, I don't know what's going on with TikTok. Let me tell my poor husband. But I think it's so important for families and mothers to feel empowered and confident. And that's also a big part of the reason why A, I do these lives, B, I have the membership. So it's not just advice that you're trying to put together from Reels and TikToks and Facebook groups. You get the support after, because when it makes sense to you, that's when you're able to see it through. Do you have any tips on getting a 6-month-old to nap in the pram while out? Yes. Yes, I do. I'll say the caveat that some babies, it's just trickier. For my own in particular, they were one sleep cycle wonders no matter what I did, and I just had to roll with it. So at 6 months old, for your baby, that's why nap 1 and nap 3 would be perfect to do that, so that if you didn't get some juicy long midday nap in the pram, it doesn't matter, but you still were able to get out of the house. So the first thing is it takes practice. And so it takes practice. Maybe you want to do it one day on, one day off, so that you can still prioritize the nap at home the next day, but still get out of the house. Then the next thing I would say is that I would be packing some of the creature comforts from home. So I used to put the Glow, and this is not ad at all. I had the portable Glow Dreaming sound machine, and it fit perfectly in my pram's coffee cup. And I used to use that, hood down, nice and dark, sleeping bag on if they were still in the bassinet. Otherwise, dummy in. But the other thing that's important at this age is that they need time to have actually seen what's happening around them. Sometimes it can be a bit like, okay, we're going for a walk, I'm going to pop them in, hood down straight away, and off we go. And it can feel a bit abrupt. So I would actually allow them to have time to see and talk about the birds that you're looking at, or stop and get a coffee, chat to them, and then wean them into, okay, now it's nap time, so that it doesn't feel like we've just arrived and now I'm a horse with the blinkers on. But it honestly just does take practice. Mish, I'm glad I've answered the question about one nap at daycare. Great. Wondering what your criteria would be for an early bedtime. At 15 and a half months, I would think I'm usually aiming for most families. And some families want to do a 6 till 6 or an 8 till 8. That doesn't matter. The bulk of my families, I'm trying to get bedtime somewhere between 7 and 7:30. So for me, it could be that 6:15 feels early at 15 1.5 months, because if we're anticipating or aiming for 11 to 12 hours overnight, that's going to get you to a 5 to 6 a.m. wake rather than a 6 to 7 wake. Equally, it's your backup plan on childcare days, or for anyone listening where naps just do not go to plan, which I'm so used to. Babies, I can make the best schedule. Mum and dad can be on, everyone can be on board. And then a baby absolutely does not play ball. And I'm so used to that. So your early to bed is your rescue plan to try and minimize overtiredness. But the thing to look out for is that if you get stuck in this early to bed, early to rise, it's not early rising. It's just that they've met their quota by 5 or 6 a.m., if that makes sense. Full transparency, at about 15 months old, when my first baby, who's my angel sleep, she refused nap 2 at child. She moved to 1 nap. She was a 2 nap baby at home, but a 1 nap baby at childcare. And she used to take the first nap at childcare, but absolutely outright refuse nap 2, which meant that it was a very long day from like 10:30 until bedtime. And I actually used to put her to bed at 5:30 p.m. And I remember doing it in summer, so about this time of year, if you're in Australia, and I would walk out and it would be broad daylight. Of course, her room was pitch black and I had the perfect den, thinking, I am absolutely crazy doing this. And for her, 9 times out of 10, I'd see her at 6:30, 7 a.m. Not every baby has to do that. I would mostly say we're aiming at the earliest would be 6 to 6:15. But just so you know that the early to bed is your rescue plan. Pauline, can the 2-hour nap be done on the go, e.g. during the summer holidays when we all want to be out, babies not, can they do it real life? Some can. Like one of my girlfriends, she has 4 beautiful babies. All of them can smash out the longest naps at any time of the day. So it is absolutely possible for some, and some will find it trickier. And just said 16-month-old still waking multiple times, usually only 1 nap these days, the occasional late second nap. So this is where I would come back to the 2 nap, the transitional schedule. And if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about with the transitional schedule, this is the schedule that I will usually start with for a baby between 12 and 14 months, sometimes even at 11 months I'll do it. Which moves to a short long. And the reason for this is that if we transition a baby that's already struggling with sleep to 1 nap, you have to have a reliable 1 nap without ending up with a huge wake window kind of on either side. And those huge wake windows inevitably for most babies then cause overnight wakings, false starts, early rising, and then the next day you get a short nap. So if you have, particularly at 16 months, so at this age and in this scenario, I would absolutely be going back to 2 naps, but you need to do it strategically, meaning that if your baby, let's say at 10:30, takes a 2-hour nap, there is not going to be anything left in the tank for nap 2. So we have to switch it. We have to do a short nap 1. Sometimes it's even just 15 minutes. It can be on the go. You throw the rules out the window and then you prioritize the lovely long afternoon nap. And what that does is, by filling out the second half of the day with better sleep, it means that your baby goes into the night well rested, meaning that if you get these multiple overnight wakings, you can be confident that it's not due to overtiredness, in which case you can resettle from start to finish confidently, and your baby is a natural pattern seeker. That means they want to know what's coming next. So you have then 12 hours to master the skill of consistent resettling, in which case your baby's then going to pick up on that pattern and think, oh, okay, this is what's meant to happen overnight. You can be with them, you can be out of the room. It depends on what technique you choose. But in order to do that, I would be popping baby back onto 2 naps. And then once your nights are fixed, then you can look to transition to 1 nap, which you're in. It's not far-fetched, but I will even put a 19-month-old back onto 2 tightly capped naps if we're needing to fix some major overnight issues, even if it's just for a couple of of days. So it is definitely appropriate at 16 months. If you want to know, oh, you're welcome, Ange, no problem. Ange, if you want, I have a whole 2-to-1 nap transition module in my toddler toolkit that will walk you through the transitional schedule and how to whittle down that first nap and what to look for before you officially make the nap transition. It will also give you in the room and out of the room settling techniques so that you know what to do, because you can have the best schedule and you can still obviously end up with overnight wakings. The point of the day work, whether it's the schedule, the environment, the calories, the whole thing, is so that that internal checklist that we all do as mothers to say, are they waking because they're too cold? Are they too hot? Are they hungry? Is it, is there light coming through? Is all of the things, you can tick those off come bedtime and just know, is this a feed or is this a resettle? That's exactly the point I get my families to. Is this a feed or is this a resettle? And if it's a resettle, what does that look like? It takes all the guesswork out for you, because I know you've been trying to figure out all of this and piecing it together. That's what I'm here to do, because I've been doing this for 10 years. I have worked with thousands of families now all around the world. And although every baby is absolutely unique and every family is, there is still a process. So that's what I aim for you. And you can definitely get better sleep at this age. Kim Farley. Hi, Kim. It's nice to see you. Suggested last wake window for almost 17-month-old. 4 hours. I'm going to say 4 hours. I might do 4.5 for an absolute 10 out of 10 sleeper that can handle it as well. And you also asked, is it normal to have all of these overnight wakings? Everything any of you are experiencing is completely normal. There is nothing yet, I'll say yet, that I have never seen or heard. But there's always variations on a theme, but nothing that you have written there, and is anything that either I haven't worked with before, that I haven't seen before, that another parent isn't struggling with. And I think it can feel so lonely when you see all of these families around you, or conflicting advice to say, oh, why isn't your baby sleeping through? Or my baby's sleeping through, and you're up 5 times overnight. It's absolutely normal. Does it have to be your reality? No. And so when you're ready to make change, that's the moment to decide to make change. But everything you're experiencing is normal. Even so, I noticed this in my Snooze membership today, is that other mothers, and this is what I love, and this is why I've created it as well. Other mothers have answered each other's questions with their lived experience, because it's all well and good to hear it from me, and I will always answer your questions, but to hear it from other people who are living it and breathing it now, you suddenly realize, oh my goodness, you're on the other side of the world and you are experiencing the same thing as me. I thought it was just me, and I can assure you, I mean, the amount of comments even just coming through on social, on this live, should just tell you that you are never alone and that everything is normal. Yvette, 6-month-old was doing well with sleep training, but suddenly cries so much being put down, even with perfect wake window. Yvette, it really depends on how far into the sleep training process you are. Sometimes, let's say you're really early on, there is something called an extinction burst, which doesn't happen to every family. And it's always, if I forget to mention it to a family, that's when they then experience it. Murphy's Law. Sometimes, somewhere between nights 4, 5, and 6, maybe even night 3, when things have gone so well that it then feels like this really big regression, and it's really common. And what can happen is that parents suddenly doubt the process, or maybe baby's sick, or maybe all of these. It's when the doubt starts to flood in again. And that's when something new might be added in, an old habit can creep back in, and then it can feel like we're doing night one over and over and over again. And I will commonly receive intake forms saying we can just never get past night 3, don't know what we're doing wrong. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong, it's just that there is an extinction burst that occurs when you're making change around that time. So it just depends on how early into the sleep training process you are. It could also be sometimes if a baby has gone from taking really short naps, long wake windows, there's a little bit of sleep debt, and then they start to consolidate their sleep, meaning they're starting to get better, longer sleep. It then means that it's all about sleep total and sleep pressure redistribution, right? So if they then start to consolidate, they then have more reserve during their wake windows to stay up a little bit longer. So it could be that you then need a schedule tweak. They've caught up on all of this sleep because of your sleep training, and now we need to do a schedule review. So my guess is it's one of those two elements. I also think it's really important to normalize that a lot of babies have a cry at bedtime. My second baby cried for maybe 30 seconds to 2 minutes tops almost every night for a whole year, and then would sleep 12 hours. And the nights where he didn't, where it stopped, it was so eerily quiet. And when it was first happening, I was thinking I need to fix, like, what's wrong? I'd be in there. And then I just realized it was part of his wind down process. And knowing that he then would sleep 11 to 12 hours, I realized some babies are just vocal about the falling asleep. Maybe he's just trying to get the final say. I mean, he is such a beautiful, chatty 4-year-old. Oh my goodness, he doesn't stop talking and I love it. So it could just be that it was manifesting like that in a little tiny baby's body. But I think it's normal. It's important to normalize that some babies are just, they do have a cry. But if it's a lengthy battle, big tears for a long, long time and not settling, then we need to review to see what's going on, especially if sleep training was already going so well. It's going to be less to do with sleep training, more to do with some other contributing factor. Excuse me while I have my spicy mug with our sip and snooze. If anyone listens to the Nap Trapped podcast, we have a new episode coming out tomorrow on what does it mean to resettle. And then on Thursday, which Christmas Day, we will have a Sleep Detectives episode, and Beck and I are going to record that tomorrow. I found a cocktail for something called a Dirty Santa. I think it just looks like a very adult version of a Shirley Temple, but we will be making that. So if, not that you have to listen to us on Christmas Day, but that is what we will be making tomorrow as we record. So maybe on Boxing Day, if you're wanting to listen to us giddy while we answer your baby sleep questions, you'll know that that's what we were drinking. And B, wake windows for a 9-month-old. Nights are hard. Co-sleeps at night and feeds multiple times. Want to get him in his own bed during the night. During the day, he has his naps in his bed. Okay, lots of things to talk about there. First of all, the most common age group I work with is 6 to 9-month-old babies. There is so much going on at this stage. You have increased mobility. You have separation anxiety starting to peak again. You have increased volumes of solids, maybe some night weaning, the 3 to 2 nap transition. Babies are on the moves. There is a perfect storm to make sleep tricky. If you have already moved to 2 naps, I would probably, depending on whether or not your baby is a fresh 9-month-old or about to turn 10 months, my guess is that it would be worth going on to back onto 3 naps really strategically, because in order to move away from feeding multiple times overnight, I need you to know that your baby has had ample calories throughout the day. It is about redistributing the calories from overnight in case you are stuck in a little bit of a reverse cycle situation, which means baby relies on calories overnight and then maybe less so during the day. You definitely don't have to go cold turkey overnight, but I want you to know what is a feed overnight and what is a reset. Oh, and he just started walking too. Oh, amazing. I mean, overachiever. So there's a lot going on for you. So it's about getting the feeds in, the naps in, and getting to bedtime in a great state to make change. This is an absolute sweet spot to make change, because understandably, the older a baby gets, it can get a little bit harder because they're standing, they're louder, all of these things. But if you're wanting to co-sleep and stop the overnight feeds, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. I would initially start with getting your days tidied up to get to bedtime, and then look to anchor in, let's say, 2 feeds overnight initially, and everything else becomes a resettle in between that isn't co-sleeping or isn't feeding back to sleep. And then as your then you can eventually work on self-settling. You don't have to rip the Band-Aid. Equally, I work with some families that think we're an all or nothing family. When if we're making change, we make change. No problem. Then the idea is that we teach self-settling and we sleep train kind of, let's say we spend 2 days working on the schedule, and then on the third night, okay, we're going to do some more formalized sleep training and stay in the cot or the crib overnight. You may still have your feeds definitely in the mix, but you're going to teach self-settling from bedtime and follow suit for everything that's not a feed. This is exactly what you'll find, and in my 5 to 12 month course, plus there's quite a few other parents. I know of at least 1 or 2 that are co-sleeping and feeding multiple times over the night and looking to make change, and that's what we'll support you with in how to do and how to execute that in the Q&A forum and the live group coaching call. So definitely go and jump into Snooze, which is my baby sleep membership. The other thing is that all of these questions are so wonderful, and I can never, ever get through them all. And that is exactly why I have my forum in the Snooze membership. It's both me and Beck, who's my podcast co-host. We're in there Monday to Friday answering questions, and we do a weekly live group coaching call. The other exciting thing is that inside the Snooze membership in January, we are starting group virtual sleep training. And so it means that if you've been looking at doing a 2-week sleep support package, or maybe it's not in your budget, or you're worried about a myriad of things, this is a group sleep training 2-week package. And so you'll have the support of the group, plus you'll have both Beck and I as your sleep consultants daily checking in. You will get a whole list of what you need to have in preparation. You will have your schedule, you have your videos on how to resettle. And so that is coming in January if you're looking to sleep train and you want to join a virtual group sleep training group. Tips, Kate. Tips to get a contact napper to fall asleep in the cot. Two immediate tips, but it is a little bit age dependent. It's probably more so for the younger babies. Is one, if your baby is young enough to be swaddled, a lot of babies that are sort of exclusive contact nappers love the cuddle of it, and that you have, whilst contact napping, have suppressed their startle reflex. And so a maximum startle suppression swaddle, such as the miracle blanket, and actually I've just been recently sent the baby burrito, and burrito baby, someone in a live the other day said that's also really good for this, is that it will feel like a contact cuddle nap for your baby. They don't have to fight themselves. They don't have to wake up partway through a sleep cycle and wake themselves with a hand. And the other thing is that a lot of contact napping babies, they struggle with transferring into the or having a nap in the cot because they're not used to sleeping on their back during the day. And so I'm all about taking a sideways step of how we can, rather than going fully fledged into hardcore nap training, which I don't think we need to do, the sideways step would be, I'm going to do this nap in the pram. If your baby is young enough to still be in the bassinet, even better. Otherwise, reclined in the seat. And so they get used to being in a different position. And instead of the contact nap being the sleep association they're looking for to put them to sleep, we use the motion of the pram. And it can take a couple of days for a baby to realize that this is the new pattern, but that sideways step can be incredibly helpful. Oh, definitely. Kate's just said 12-month-old sleep trainer falls asleep independently at night. Definitely too old for a swaddle. You could definitely move to the pram during the day if you wanted to. Otherwise, this would come to nap training. And this is where you will find the transitional schedule of being on a short long really helpful, because the first nap of the day does not need to be nap trained. You can continue to do that as a contact nap, but you then have a lovely long afternoon nap where you nap train. And so you essentially treat it like bedtime, but you may need to rescue the nap as well initially. Kate, this is also a great scenario to jump into the Snooze membership. And there is a whole nap training module in the toddler toolkit. Plus, I can walk you through this because we're going to focus on nap 2. Oh, poor Kate. I've just lost TikTok again. I don't know what is going on. I think TikTok's just having a little bit of a connection. Mocha has asked, going through the sleep regression now with a 3.5-month sleep trained baby. He starts waking up at night crying and I have to come in to help. Will I have to sleep train again? He used to sleep 12 hours. It could. So this could definitely sounds like it could be the 4-month sleep regression. Hang on, I'm just trying to. I don't know how to rejoin TikTok. So sorry. Okay. It could definitely be the 4-month sleep regression. I would need to know a little bit more because I also want to make sure, not that I think we need to necessarily bring back feeds, but it would also be appropriate if your baby still needed a feed overnight. But having a look at probably the day structure now that their sleep cycles are maturing and how we can reset the stage for success so that if you do need to use your sleep training technique, again, you're not going to be asking him to do anything that he doesn't already know how to do. But it may just be that we need to reshape the day, including the timing of his feeds and where they are placed to get you back to those great nights. And the reason I say yes, absolutely appropriate to have, more than to have feeds in the mix at this age overnight. Some babies also don't require them. Both of mine, for example, my first baby was 12 hours at 12 weeks and my second was 12 hours at 15 weeks. So some babies don't need it and some we may need to look to bring it back in, but I would need to know a little bit more. Tips for 5-month-old who consistently wakes after the first sleep cycle for nighttime sleep. There's a couple of reasons that this can happen. One, it can be overtired, that they struggle to. The deepest stretch of sleep really should be from about bedtime until midnight. And so if a baby is waking up after one sleep cycle and having what a lot of families would call a false start, it can be a bit of a red flag for overtiredness, in which case we need to sort of reverse engineer and have a look at the day. The other thing that can happen is that if a baby has had, let's say, maybe they're not feeding to sleep, but they've had a little micro snooze on the breast or bottle, that can also just shift the sleep pressure. They can then nod off, but they treat it like a nap because they already had this little micro snooze on the breast or the bottle. And that can or if you've put them down drowsy but awake, or you've assisted them sort of 70, 80, 90% of the way to sleep, then they wake up after that sleep cycle and think, hang on, how did I get here? What's happening? And they just can't quite do it on their own. Undertiredness is, I mean, to be honest, I work with maybe 1 or 2 undertired babies a year, and it is the world's quickest fix because we just need to rejig their schedule. It's not, it's not the main culprit of sleep issues for the families that I work with. So, Abby, if you're looking for a great schedule and a bit of a deeper dive, if you head to the link in my bio and join my Snooze membership, you can either join for 3 months or you can pay for the whole year and just know that you've got baby sleep support all the time. Oh, she must be overtired then because she has small naps. And this is every second 5-month-old baby. Abby, this is so normal. You are definitely not to blame, nor is your baby. In fact, I would say that 5 to 6 months is almost, not that I should have favorites, but it's almost the perfect sweet spot because you can really start to work on getting longer consolidated sleep, both during the day and overnight. But we structure your day to get you to bedtime and equip you with the tools that even if you do have this false start, you know exactly what to do. It's about what is a feed and what is a resettle. And if it is a resettle, what does that look like? Then you turn up the next day, you move through your 4-hourly anchored feeds. If there's solids in the mix, you'll know where to put those, what to do if nap 2 isn't so good. And then you get to bedtime and you rinse and repeat. And that is what it is to sustainably get better sleep. We teach self-settling at bedtime and overnight whilst we restructure the days. And then we start to transfer those skills to the naps because I work with families, I imagine just like most of you on this live, that are doing it pretty much DIY without the whole village at home. And so in order for this to be sustainable, we break it down. You structure your days and you work on fixing your bedtime and overnight problems, and then you apply your self-settling to your day naps. All of which is exactly how every single guide and course that I've made is structured. Nights first, then days. Amazing, Abby. We've got I can't wait to see you in there. You can, so as soon as you sign up, and again, you can either join for the 3 months or for a whole year. And a lot of people have been signing up for the year and then say, I just needed to know that I don't have to think about sleep again. I can just log on and ask my question. We've got families from around the world. So even if you're asleep, you can wake up and see that your question's been answered. You'll get immediate access to every age-based course. So that's from newborn to the 3 to 4 month course to the 5 to 12 month sleep course, which is historically my bestseller, and then the new toddler toolkit for the 18-month regression, the 2-year regression, when to move to a big bed, the whole shebang. You'll immediately get access to all of those. So it's particularly helpful if you've got multiple children or you're going to have another baby. You'll know exactly what's to come. You get the Q&A forum that I moderate and answer questions in Monday to Friday. And I also have Beck, who is my podcast co-host. And she's another incredible sleep consultant. And we are just like work wives, dream team. We're in there answering questions. You'll also have other parents from around the world supporting you and answering questions. And we do a live group weekly coaching call. So our next one is on Wednesday. So hopefully, Abby, I will see you in there. And the beauty of the membership is that you get the resource, but you also get the support. So you get the tools, but I know that you're tired. And then we help you implement. We say, yes, this is normal. Keep going. No, we need to tweak this. It's everything. Excuse me. The other thing is that, and I was just talking about this before, in January, we are launching something called Camp Snooze. I get to live out my parent trap dreams. I'm creating Camp Snooze, which is a 2-week virtual group sleep training package. And as Snooze members, so if you're in my membership, it is at a dramatically reduced price. When I do 2-week packages one-on-one. It's usually $3,500 and inside Snooze it's going to be $290 and you will have both Beck and I as your sleep consultants guiding you through. You'll get your packing list, so you'll know what you'll need based on your intake form before we start. We have morning roll call. You'll have video modules of your settling techniques. You'll each get your schedule and we will see you through 2 weeks of sleep training. We will tackle nights and naps in that. It will also be open to, of course, other people outside of Snooze, but at a much higher rate. So if you're looking to join Snooze and you're looking at having some more hands-on sleep training support, then January 12th is going to be our first intake. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, so long as you can attend the morning roll call. And so this is something really exciting because I don't think it really exists, having 2 sleep consultants sleep training your baby in a virtual group scenario. So that's also an additional benefit to the Snooze membership. All right, let's have a look at 5-month-old who used to sleep through the night in the bassinet, now waking when moved to the cot overnight. If you think about, I've just been on holidays and the mattress was much harder. I actually packed my own pillow. My 4-year-old likes to sleep with one of my dressing gowns every night. I packed that for him. When we move from a bassinet to a cot, it's like moving. It can be for some babies a whole new bed and they don't quite know, like, where's that comfy spot? I work with lots of babies who like to sort of brush their hand up and down the side of the mesh of a lot of bassinets. They like to smush their face in it. They have their rituals that can be part of the self-settling process. I roll here, I smush here, I put my hand here, and then we put them into a big cot and they sort of have to relearn that. Your job there, particularly if they were a great sleeper, maybe you've already done some sleep training, is to remain consistent whilst they adapt to this change. There will always be moments of change. A tooth, coming out of the swaddle, sleeping in a porta cot, travel, starting childcare. Your job, if you have a great sleeper, is to just see it through calmly. You can borrow my mantra of, this is my parenting mantra in general, of I am your unflappable leader, and that will help your baby adjust to the new environment. Because the sleep skills don't disappear. It's just that they need to figure out where's that comfy spot. All right, I think I might do 1 or 2 more and then log off the night. I've been chatting too much. I haven't even done the sip part of the sip and snooze. Oh, Jacqueline, you're welcome. It's if you hit any snags, jump into Snooze and we'll troubleshoot it for you. No problem. Chaos has asked, do you have any tips for the 8-month sleep regression? I have lots. This is the perfect storm. I was just talking about this. Oh no, I've lost TikTok again, I think. Oh no, are we back? This is the perfect storm at somewhere between usually 8 to 10 months. I'm just going to tell Jacqueline, if you've got the 3 to 4 month and the 5-month program of mine with clap hands, fantastic, A+ student, you get a discounted rate into the Snooze membership if you want to add that on. And then you also get the toddler toolkit. You should have already received an email, but if you haven't or if you've missed it, just DM me and I will send you that discounted link, because if you've already previously worked with me or have previously made a purchase, you get an automatic discount added to signing up to adding on the membership. So definitely take advantage of that. And if you haven't received information, just DM me, Jacqueline, and I'll send it straight through. No problem. Back to the 8-month sleep regression. So it's this perfect storm somewhere between 8 and 10 months. Again, it's separation anxiety. It's they're on the move. It's the 3 to 2 nap drop. I actually have a whole podcast episode talking about the 8-month sleep regression. It's not a regression like we know the 4-month sleep regression to be. It's not that there is a significant sleep cycle change or a permanent milestone and it's developmental. It's this whole, it's an umbrella term for all of these things that can then manifest in a regression in sleep. So the thing that you need to do is go through your checklist. I want you to go through, if your 8-month-old has dropped to 2 naps and it's not working, I need you to go back onto 3 naps very strategically. I need you to get your milk timings and volumes in the right place. Move away from snack feeding if that's what you're currently in that cycle of. Tanking up, not topping up. We get your day schedule and your day feeds and your solids and your volumes locked in. Then we have a look at the sleep environment. Is it still conducive to great sleep? Is the white noise going? Is there a neighbor's garage door opening at 5 a.m. that's contributing to early rising? You do an audit of the sleep environment. Are they warm enough? Are they warm enough compared to 2 months ago, depending on where you are in the world, whether you needed aircon on or heating on? Are they in the correct TOG rated sleeping bag? Then it is about having a look. Has something new started happening at bedtime and overnight? Have you gone from self-settling to I'm now going to rock to sleep? Have you gone from sleeping through with no bottles or breastfeeds and now we've got 2 or 3 back in the mix, which to be fair, we're all trying to pick our battles. It absolutely happens and it's no drama. We do a review of that. Then we double down on the self-settling and do some active sleep training if need be. But we have to figure out what else could be causing it before we go to fix it with the sleep training, if that makes sense. And essentially, that is the formula, if you will, for any regression. I see people talk about the 6-month regression and the 12-month regression. And to be honest, you can have regressions at any point. A lot of families I work with, it feels like it's been one long regression. And so you don't need to wait for this too shall pass. You don't need to wait until an elusive date or age, unless you've got a tiny baby. But there's no time like the present to do your audit of what could be going on. You jump into my Snooze membership, you access I'm literally looking at it now, my Snooze schedule Bible. I'm looking at 6 months with 3 naps. I'm looking at 7 months, up at 7 with milk, 7:30 solids, 8 months, 3 naps, 9 months, 9 months on 2 naps. It walks you through step by step so that you get to bedtime and know, okay, this is now a matter of being consistent and I'm going to use a technique all the way through. It'll also show you the techniques. All right, let's do one more. And if you haven't already, listen to my Nap Trapped podcast. You can listen to it on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And we were just recently absolutely blown away because and when I say we, my podcast co-host Beck and I, we are almost coming up to our 1-year anniversary of Nap Trapped. We even have merchandise, and I have seen so many beautiful families and babies rocking our cap saying Nap Trapped. People have even recognized the cap in the street and said, "Oh my goodness, I listened to your podcast." We've been doing this for almost a year and we were completely blown away because we were in so many of your 2025 Spotify Wrapped lists, which is just phenomenal. So thank you for listening to us. We put out 2 episodes every week, one main episode, and then every Thursday we put out an episode called Sleep Detectives where we attempt to rapid fire answer your real life baby sleep questions. And we also found out that we were in the top 5% of videos watched on Spotify around the world, which means we really need to step up our game. We always forget that people are watching. Step up our game of how we look. I've definitely been known to record with my fake tan marinating and in a tracksuit. So, but needless to say, that is our podcast, and we have a whole episode on the 8-month sleep regression. We also have episodes on the 18-month regression, the 4-month regression, the 2-year regression. Anything you can think of, we've probably almost covered it. And if not, we will continue to do so. Okay, let's do one more Amelia. Little one is 3 months and struggling to get a long, deep sleep day nap in. Any tips? First of all, congratulations on your beautiful 3-month-old baby. It's a real no man's land of baby sleep because they're not quite a newborn, but they're not quite old enough for more formalized sleep training. Catnapping is still incredibly normal, but we also know that your baby has their own melatonin production now, so we can really start sleep shaping versus sleep training. And this is what I walk through in my 3 to 4 month sleep course. One of the first things that I want you to think about is the environment conducive now to great sleep at this age? If it's going to be a bassinet or cot nap, I want the room 10 out of 10 dark. And I encourage that from about 8 weeks of age if the nap is going to be down in the bassinet or in the cot in a separate sleep space. The other thing is working to a 90-minute wake window. Also, knowing that short naps are still really age appropriate. Your baby's not doing anything wrong, and neither are you. And the other thing is, are they still swaddled? And if not, could they go back into the swaddle? And they could well be that they need a maximum startle suppression. Oh, that sounds so intense. It just means a really nice firm swaddle. So something like the Miracle Blanket, or I'm yet to try this personally, but they've sent me one and I've heard really good things about the Burrito Baby. Something that is nice and firm. And I have worked with so many families that when we bring in a nice firm swaddle like that, everyone's little nervous systems can take a breath because they don't have to fight themselves. It's easier to get down into this deeper stretch of a sleep cycle. Also getting in really great milk feeds throughout the day, all of which is mapped out in my 3 to 4 month sleep course. Plus, if you join the Snooze membership, you will get automatic access to that. Then you will also have the Q&A forum, which I moderate, and live weekly coaching calls. There's mothers in there at the moment that are asking about their 4-week-old baby. On the live group coaching call last week were 4.5-month-old twinnies in New Zealand. It's really, you'll feel so beautifully supported, no matter how old your baby is. All right. I think that it is almost my bedtime. This was so fun. Thank you for bearing with me with the technical difficulties. Amelia, jump in. We would absolutely love to have you. We've got our next live coaching call on Wednesday at 10:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. But even if you miss it, if you're tired, if you're in a different time zone, just write a question in the forum. We can answer it, and then you'll wake up and watch the replay. I have built this membership for all of you based on what you have all told me over the last, well, not necessarily you guys, but your predecessors, of what is needed in the baby sleep space for the last 10 years. So on that note, if you'd like to join, jump in my link in bio. You can also buy the guides and courses even without the Snooze membership, but I feel like the support is what helps families make the change that they are after and becoming the mothers that we dream of being: well-rested, patient, and present. I'm going to go and finish my spicy margarita, and I will see you on the next live. Thanks, everyone. Bye.